So today I'm driving the Chrysler 300. This is a classic looking sedan. Nothing too special about it, but some nice touches with the silver inlays throughout the car. All in all, a pretty solid looking vehicle. It does have a very large trunk. I have no doubt that you'd be able to get all your suitcases in here. It is pretty big. This has the new type of fueling system where you don't have to do a twist-off cap. You just insert the fuel pump and get going. The one thing I didn't like about this was how hidden the fuel button is. It's here on the bottom of the driver's side door, tucked away in the corner.
So this is the view from the passenger seat. It's a pretty nice setup. You have a heads-up display in the center. And if you look, I have it on the trip information, and I'm getting about 30 miles to the gallon, which is pretty good. On the steering wheel, you have buttons here to interact with the heads-up display. You have 3 different buttons to interact with your phone. And you have the cruise control buttons right here on the side. I thought it was pretty interesting that there's actually only one handle right here. This adjusts both the windshield wipers and the turn signal. There is no second handle on the right-hand side. There's no standard key for this car. It comes with a key fob. Here's what it looks like. Just a couple of buttons on the front to lock and unlock, do the trunk, and a panic button. It's also a push button start. The start button is directly next to the steering wheel. And here's what it looks like when you start it up. One thing that's pretty unique about this car is that the steering wheel adjusts electronically. Usually there's a lever down below that you can push or twist to manipulate it. This one, and it's hard to see, but this one actually has a control right here that allows you to move it both up and down, or you can telescope it in and out. It's really nice to make it comfortable. The center console in this car is fairly nice. You have an old-fashioned analog clock on the top, a touchscreen control in the center, and then your standard climate controls right here. Something kind of interesting is that they have removed the gear shift completely and replaced it with just a knob that you twist. So if you want to put it in reverse, turn the knob, neutral, drive. There's an additional storage compartment right here that I found was really nice for my cell phone. And then one down here. No USB connectors in here, but you do have a nice size container to store things. You get 2 fairly decent sized cup holders. Didn't have any problems storing my enormous cup. And that does close right here to make for a cleaner look. In the center, you do get a console with some pretty sizable storage and a modular unit that you can remove. Back in here, there is a port to plug in audio, USB, and then you can even load a memory card. And then you do have a DC adapter on the bottom. This is a pretty good size. I mean, I can get my whole hand in here. There's plenty of room to keep whatever you need. Just taking a closer look at the center console, I did like all the options that were available here. If you go to controls, you have heated seats for both the driver and the passenger. You also have vented seats, so you get kind of a cooling breeze blown onto your back. And then there's a heated steering wheel. The heated steering wheel felt really nice. The entire steering wheel heats up all the way around. I've had a couple of other cars where the heat was only coming from the sides, but this one eventually heats up all the way on the top, which is really nice. This car also comes with a rear sunshade. It's kind of strange. Let me show you what it does. First, I will push the button to activate it, and then we'll turn and look at the back. Do you see the shade coming up? It covers the window almost completely. You can see there's a little bit of a gap at the top. To activate it, the only control I found in the car is under the control setting on the heads-up display. And you just single push to make it come up and down. Above the rear view mirror, you also have some additional storage for sunglasses. There's some additional padding in here, which was really nice. You have standard buttons to turn on the overhead lights. And then there's actually a sizable sunroof. I have it all the way open now, but you just push and hold the buttons to close the portion that's over the rear passenger seating, and then all the way to close up the roof. This is the view from the passenger seat. You do get A nice sized glove box. Looks like somebody left their rental receipt in here. Pretty big. And then you can have some additional shelf storage down here, which is pretty nice. Looking at the passenger seat from below, you'll notice that both the passenger seat and the driver's seat come with electric controls to adjust the seat, both up and down. You can recline, and then both have lumbar supports that are fully electronic. I'm sitting in the passenger seat now. I'm about 6 feet tall, and I noticed that I had to put the seat for both the driver and the passenger all the way down, or I would scrape the top of my head on the ceiling. When the seat is all the way down, I have about 2 inches of space above my head, but because of how the sunroof is, I don't know if you can see, but the sunroof is about 3 inches above the actual roof of the car. And this part, I tend to scrape my head quite a bit when I'm sitting in both the passenger and the driver's seat. This is the view from the back seat. You do have 2 dedicated vents back here with controls for the seat warmers. 2 USB connections back here from the passengers. And then an additional control for the rear netting. To be honest, I'm not sure why you would give control to your passengers over that, but it's here in the center console. I'm about 6 feet tall, as I mentioned before, and I have plenty of leg room. One thing that's really apparent is that I am hitting my head right now on the ceiling. There just isn't a lot of room right here. I'm having to kind of scrunch down to fit in the seat. The center does have a large armrest with 2 areas for drinks, and then an additional storage container right here. It's pretty shallow, but it is nice that passengers have at least some place to keep their stuff. One of my favorite things to do is to see how easy it is to change the clock. I'm going to go to controls down here at the bottom, settings, a long list of things, but there is one for clock, and then we can set time on hours. Doesn't look like it'll allow me to change it. I'm guessing because it says you're syncing the time with GPS. Unsyncing it, looks like you can just press the button to change the time. So not too bad. It is buried pretty deep in the settings, but I was able to figure it out pretty quickly.
So that's the Chrysler 300. It's a good looking car. I like it. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video.
So here's the key fob for the car. Pretty simple looking, just a couple of buttons on the front. And here's what the car looks like when you start it up. Push button start. There you go.